Welcome, Oris, and welcome to another unboxing. Here we go with the Sinn. Got that nice black textured box. Let's do a quick 360. And let's get the lid off. Alright, so inside we get our card here. Has our details like the serial number and the year of the watch. We get our instructions or the manual, bit about the company, bit about, bit of their watches, some other models too included. And from this, you can probably tell what the watch is. Let's get into the inner box. So matching the outer, we get a black box. We get some Sinn logo there, imprinted into that cushiony top. It has like this black lining or cover. 360. Nice and simple, nothing too crazy. Has some stitching. Let's open her up. So here it is. Here's the watch. Now I'll put the watch to the side for now. Take it off the pillow. All right, now let's take a look at what we get on the inside. So here's it's not really a pillow, it's more of like a holder covered in that same lining on the box. We also get the Sinn Loctite. It's pretty cool. Our links, as well as the Allen keys in that separate bag. Cushiony at the top, just like on the outside, but it has the white Sinn branding there. Let's get to the watch. Here it is, guys. This is the Sinn 356 SA. SA meaning it has a sapphire crystal on the top and it has a sapphire crystal on the back there, so we can see that movement. All right off the bat, the dial on this, it has a very tool watch aesthetic, and when I'm comparing it to my 556, it feels more refined and mature. There's something about it where the dial elements just give it a more, rugged feeling. It has a more classic vibe to it. Now the hands, those syringe style hands, they go from like a broader base to a slim tip, really help with its legibility. And I think it ties in well with, those sub dial hands, as well as the very thin tracks on the dial. Now, this is 38 millimeters, and when looking at it, there's a certain feeling I get because, I'm not really used to seeing smaller chronographs. I know there are many companies that make smaller chronographs, but in my watch collecting so far, I don't have a lot of experience with smaller chronographs. So this one here will be the smallest chronograph that I've ever had in hand. And, it's quite interesting because I do have the Speedmaster, and when I put them side by side, you can really see a visual difference. Now, being smaller, that dial real estate, it's harder to fit everything on there. So you can see some of the numerals have been cut off. The 12, 3, 6, and 9 have been omitted from the dial to make way for the subdials and the day-date function. But honestly, to me, I don't mind this cutoff of the numerals. I think it makes it, more interesting to look at, and I think it fits in well. By removing 4 of the numerals at, 4 critical points, it gives it a more balanced look. You see there, it's kind of in that cross fashion, but it also makes the subdials a bit more prominent and makes them easier to read, which is something you kind of want on a chronograph. Now at the 3 o'clock there is where you'll find the Sinn branding or the logo, which I actually quite like compared to some other chronographs where they have that traditional logo or branding at the 12 o'clock. The chronograph hand will kind of just always cut that off or get in the way, which it's just a small detail, but something that does bug me sometimes. I always like to just have a clear view of the brand there. It makes it look nice and clean, and you can clearly discern what watch it is. Now it does have that day date function there, and I think having the day included really just helps it balance out with the subdials, because if it just had the date, it would look a bit unbalanced. There would be a large void here, which would be difficult to cover up. And I don't know, I just think having that day and date helps to fill in that space. Now the printing is very crisp, white. You could see there is loom on the numerals there and the hands, which does give off that tinge, that yellowy greenish tinge. The dial is like a matte black. Everything's pretty much printed on. No real depth or texture. It's just relying on its own font to really give off its styling. And I quite like it. Now the case, it's all brushed, giving it more of that tool watch aesthetic, something I really like about Sinn. Now, just because it's all brushed doesn't mean it's boring. As you can see from the bezel, there are a lot of angles and bevels that you can play into. And what I really like about this one is, look at that crystal. Nice and boxed, like a curvy box, compared to the 556 where it was just flat. This one really gives it an interesting look. The thin lugs tie in well with the thin bezel, giving it a really cohesive look, and they flow well, again, just like the 556, into that long crown and the crown guards. And what I like about the chronograph is that this long crown and crown guard construction really ties in well with the pushes. It gives it a more, just that balanced feeling. Now the bracelet, this is the H-link bracelet, and again, it's brushed just like the case to match it. The Sinn H-link bracelets are fantastic. They have like a subtle curve, so it's not just all flat and sharp. The edges are curved, so it's very smooth, very comfortable to wear, and it helps to catch light. Now the clasp, it is a milled clasp. However, this portion here, it feels very outdated. It feels very flimsy, very thin. It's stamped Sinn, but I don't know. I feel like they could update this portion here as well as that keeper part. It does have 3 points of micro adjustment to help with, sizing. Oh, there are some stickers on here. I'll take these off later. It also does have that extension there, milled as well, which is, kind of a nice feature. It does kind of make the clasp a little bulky as well, if you see there. It does taper. However, you can see from the clasp, it protrudes a bit, protrudes a little bit, kind of makes that taper a bit redundant. Now it is adjusted with those Allen keys or hex screws, and it's nice that they give you those Allen keys to help with sizing. And it's actually not that difficult. It can get a little bit finicky where you have to have both in at the same time. Otherwise, you'll just be turning endlessly. Now, on the case back there, we get to see that gorgeous movement. This particular model has the SW500 movement. Finished well with some blued screws there. And I like that they let you see the movement. Nice little touch. And it's always great to just have that at the back so you can see it working. Alright, let's see the chronograph function. So the pushers are great to press, nice tactile feedback. Yeah, they work just great. Now, being a chronograph, the watch is naturally going to be pretty thick, and as you can see there, this one, it's very thick. Now, this is more apparent because of the size of the watch. Because this is 38 millimeters, it does emphasize that thickness. It makes it, more compact, and therefore, thickness to length ratio, it's pretty big. Now, the crystal itself doesn't help with this fact because it also adds some height there. So when you're getting this watch, just keep in mind this will be very thick. But because it's thick, usually I would think, maybe it wouldn't wear that well. Maybe it would feel a little top heavy, but this one here, it actually feels very comfortable. Now, yes, the watch head is heavy, but the bracelet itself is also quite heavy. Now, that could be a negative if you're, not really into heavy watches or heavy things on your wrist, but the bracelet helps to balance out the watch head. Now, do keep in mind though, this will feel heavy. Even at 38 millimeters, this watch on your wrist, you will notice it. Okay, it's not going to feel like nothing on your wrist. You will definitely feel this on your wrist. Let's get it on. So here it is. I have about a 6.5 inch wrist, and here it is sitting. Nice and comfortable. The crown and pushers do not get in the way at all. So even though right here looks like it's digging into my wrist, it's actually not digging in at all. Alright guys, overall, I'm really enjoying this watch. I'm a big fan of its aesthetics, its styling, and its size. It feels like such a great watch, and I have a feeling I will like this more than my 556. Once I spend more time with it, I'll do a review, so stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching the video guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more watch content. I'll see you in the next one.